how lucky we are here at Rainmakers to be able to come back from CGI 2010 right here to 2011 with the same organization and the same person, because there are a ton of results. Mary Liz Kehler, Fundacion Paraguaya, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Dan.
This is really exciting for me because you have a pretty big announcement about an award that you guys just won.
Yes, well, we're very honored that we were chosen as one of 5 winners of the Changemaker Ashoka Empowering Economic Opportunity competition that was sponsored by eBay. This was a competition that solicited online entries. It received 900 applications from 83 countries. Those were narrowed down to about a group of 15, and then there was a round of online voting, and that narrowed the field to 10, and then a panel of expert judges picked 5 winners. So we're really very honored.
Well, I had to look into this because this is something else, and it was for Powering Economic Opportunity. It was from Ashoka Changemakers, and one of the big things from eBay is that they seem to want is the ability to scale what you do. And what you do with Fundacion Paraguaya, the model related to schools, right?
That's right. This particular model is designed to transform poor youth from developing countries into rural entrepreneurs. Youth who may not even have an opportunity to go to secondary school are given the opportunity to go to a very special kind of school where they spend part of their time in the classroom and part of their time carrying out practical activities in the school's on-campus businesses. These little businesses serve 2 functions. One is that they give the students an opportunity to actually practice what they're learning and to learn how to run a business. At the same time, the little businesses generate enough income to cover all of the operating costs of the school. So that means that within a 5-year period, the school can become financially self-sustaining and then continue to operate in perpetuity without depending on government subsidies or long-term donor support, or by charging very high school fees to the very youth that we would like to serve. So the fact that this model is financially self-sustaining means that it can be replicated in other places.
Well, before we get there, though, I wanted to ask you a question. Are these college students or high school students?
No, these are high school students. They're students who have completed 9th grade and who come from low-income farming backgrounds and demonstrate an interest in being at this school. Those are really the only requirements.
So you got 10th graders operating businesses.
Yes, well, in the beginning they are just learning. The 10th graders have experience in each of the school businesses. In the 11th grade, they begin to express their preferences about what they like to do more than others. And then in 12th grade, they become the supervisors for the younger students. So that when they graduate, in addition to having some business experience, they also have some supervisory and management experience.
Wow. So now, how many schools in Paraguay do you have?
We have 5 schools at the moment in Paraguay.
5 schools. How many students?
About 300.
Wow. What's the impact on the communities where the schools are?
Well, the schools have impact in 2 ways. One is, of course, they're taking students from the community in most cases. And so the students are going home on the weekends and their vacations and talking about the school and bringing home some of their expertise to their families. For example, the school has an organic method of gardening, and the students take that method home so that the families can start producing vegetables, improving their diets, and using the products that are available on these little farms as inputs for the garden in terms of fertilizer and so forth. So it's a very literally enriching education, not only for the student but also for the families. Now, the school is also selling goods and services in the community. The school is providing trained young people who become good employees in the community, and graduates of the school are starting new businesses in the community. So ultimately, these little businesses will provide more employment in these communities as well. One special case is the all-girls school that we have in UNESCO-recognized forest preserve. And there's the added benefit that the students there, these girls, are teaching the community how the importance of the forest, and the school is leading by example, showing what kind of businesses you can start in a community that are environmentally sustainable and that complement the conservation of this valuable forest resource.
Now, is the forest resource in Paraguay, is it endangered?
Yes, this is the last large tract of Atlantic forest, which is a very particular and valuable ecosystem left in this area of the southern cone of South America.
So for the school to come in and say, we're going to preserve this, and for the students to say that they're going to preserve it, they're helping to make a bit of a change, a cultural change even.
Absolutely. The reserve exists, but the challenge is to enable the people who live around the reserve to learn to make a living in a way that doesn't involve depredations in the reserve. Because the easiest thing is to chop down logs, chop down trees, or to poach the wildlife in the forest. So it's really important that people, the next generation, knows how to establish little businesses around the reserve that do not involve hurting the reserve.
Now, we talked before about how this award there was a scalability aspect of it that was necessary and needed by eBay, and eBay talked about it was for innovative market-based solutions, which of course is part of Ashoka too. Is this model replicable?
Absolutely. The fact that each school has to choose what it will teach and the kinds of small businesses it will have on its campus in relation to the employment and business opportunities in its community. So in a farming community, the school is based on farming activities and other rural activities. In the example I just mentioned of the all-girls school in the forest reserve, that's more around ecotourism and forestry. Mm-hmm. We're now expanding into Tanzania, where
from Paraguay to a whole another continent.
That's right. But it's a very special relationship when an organization already has a lot of deep knowledge about a developing country context. There are other developing countries which share the same problems and challenges. And so actually, although it may seem unusual, it's very logical that an organization that comes from South America should be able to export its knowledge and know-how to Africa.
Well, how did Fundacion Paraguaya, how did you even come up with the idea that we're going to do this in a country in Africa?
Well, it has always been our ambition to export this idea because we think it's a very valuable approach to solving these two problems that face developing countries. There aren't enough schools, and the quality of the education is very low. When you have a school that is based on the market and the marketplace, there is an additional discipline to seeing that the curriculum is relevant, that kids are really learning skills that they can use later to make a decent living. So last year, or actually several years ago at the CGI, we made a commitment here that we would replicate this model in 50 countries and 50 schools within 10 years. And so this is very much something that we've been working toward, and we're very excited about this opportunity in Tanzania, and we hope it'll be a springboard for expanding into other countries in East Africa and the rest of Africa as well.
So how many Mary Liz Kehlers are there?
Well, I don't think you need so many Mary Liz Kehlers. I think that the magic of this model is that it can be operated by local people. Indeed, the local people are the ones who know best what the opportunities are in their particular area. we can help explain how the model works, explain some of the of what we've learned in the process of implementing this in Paraguay and some other countries. But really, it's not rocket science. People can do this, and
well, it's not just can do it; they are doing it.
They are doing it, exactly.
How can you assure quality education in every country that you enter?
In the first instance, we want to use the local educational system as much as possible. We think it's important that students graduate with a locally recognized credential. And so generally that means accepting the government curriculum and building onto it, improving it. And so what do we try to add? We want to add entrepreneurial skills, computer literacy, fluency in the language of commerce, because that's often a problem that students from low-income areas and low-income families perhaps aren't speaking the main language in the country, and practical skills, technical skills, so that students graduate knowing how to do something and knowing how to market what they know how to do.
Wow, so I see partnerships with the private sector. I see partnerships with NGOs. I see partnerships with governmental entities. It really does seem like you're building a community around education and business at the same time. And if I can go further, it also seems like what you're doing is creating jobs.
Well, that's right. I think one of the strongest angles of this is the connection between education and business, which I think is something that's often neglected, or people don't see the direct connection. But the students who graduate from our school are the kind of labor that is so needed in developing countries in particular. One of the common problems is that there are people who have very fine educations in developing countries, and there are people who have very little education in developing countries. But it's difficult to find people in the middle who can administer, who can run things, who are what we call the middle managers. And so the education that students receive at schools like these prepare them for those middle-level jobs, which are absolutely essential if an economy is going to develop.
Well, it's time for that question, and that question is, all right, you got to look 5 years down the road, and let's say that we were here in 2016, or let's go even a little further, 2018, and you're looking back and telling what all you accomplished. What's the answer?
Well, by 2018, we hope to have our 50 schools in 50 countries up and running. By that time, also, the schools that we are working with now in Africa will be practically financially self-sufficient. Normally, we set out a course, devise a business plan that will enable each school to become financially self-sufficient within 5 years. So the schools that we are starting to work with next year will be almost to that point. We'll have more schools in Paraguay that are also financially self-sufficient. Our network, Teach a Man to Fish, which is based in London and is a community of individuals and institutions interested in the idea of education that pays for itself, will be far larger than the 2,000 members we have now. And I expect that we'll have financially self-sufficient schools all over South America and Africa, and perhaps elsewhere in the world as well.
Well, Fundacion Paraguaya will be watching around the world. Thank you, Maria Liz.
Thank you, Stan.